Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are taking a really profound journey into one of the most granular, mathematically rigorous systems of ancient thought ever created, Vedic astrology. Specifically, we're looking at the Brihat Parasara Hora Sastra. And look, we're not talking about magic or mysticism today. We're literally analyzing a highly structured, ancient algorithm that was designed to map human existence. It's absolutely fascinating.
Here is our roadmap for today's deep dive. We'll start with the cosmic building blocks, move into dignities and exaltations, explore the hidden divisional charts, map out the web of aspects, calculate planetary strength, and finally, we'll see how all of this is used for predicting actual life outcomes. We're going to build this step by step, from foundational variables all the way to complex life predictions.
Okay, let's dive right into part 1, the cosmic building blocks.
To really grasp this vast system, we have to start at the foundational level laid out in Chapter 3 of the text. Because, before you can run an algorithm, you have to clearly define your variables. And that's exactly what these ancient astrologers did. They built this incredibly precise grid. Notice how the sun is intrinsically linked to the deity Agni, has a blood-red complexion, and actually governs vowels. Meanwhile, the moon governs semivowels. Mercury, associated with Mahavishnu and a green grass hue, rules cerebral sounds. You might be wondering, why does this matter? Well, ancient astrologers used this exact framework for highly practical applications, like literally mapping the phonetic sounds of a child's name based on which planet had the strongest mathematical pull at the exact moment of birth. It is a total, seamless intersection of astronomy, theology, and linguistics.
Now, all of those planetary deities, colors, and sounds were visualized and mapped directly onto the great wheel of the zodiac. Think of this wheel like a massive cosmic clock face, where every single degree serves as a coordinate point holding specific data. When a planet moves through these coordinates, it filters its specific traits right through the mathematical lens of the zodiac sign it currently occupies.
Which brings us to Section 2, Dignities and Deep Exaltation. Now that we have our variables on the board, we really need to understand how they fluctuate in power, because a planet isn't just equally strong all the time. Take a look at this number, 10. This isn't just some random figure. The text specifies that the sun doesn't just gain power by entering the sign of Aries, it hits its absolute peak deep exaltation at exactly the 10th degree. At exactly 10 degrees Aries, the sun's cosmic output is firing at 100% capacity. But if you shift it even slightly, to 11 degrees, it immediately begins to lose that peak intensity. This just goes to show the astonishing pinpoint precision of these ancient calculations.
And this brilliantly illustrates the inherent polarity built into the entire system. For every single point of maximum strength, there is a corresponding point of maximum weakness. Exaltation is that peak degree, like the moon sitting at 3 degrees Taurus. But exactly 180 degrees away on the wheel, which by the way is always exactly 7 signs away, lies its debilitation point. For the moon, that would be 3 degrees Scorpio. At that exact coordinate, the planet's power is entirely lost. It's rendered mathematically ineffective. It's just a perfect, elegant system of binary oppositions.
All right, let's unpack Section 3, the hidden divisional charts.
So, moving beyond just the surface layer of the main chart, these ancient astrologers demanded microscopic precision. They were slicing the sky into tiny subdivisions. And to process these microlayers, they utilized something called Vimsopaka. This is a highly specific 20-point strength assessment system. When a planet occupies a specific degree, this scoring system calculates its exact energetic pull by analyzing its position across multiple different divisional charts. It evaluates all these variables to reveal the hidden, underlying strength of a planet across multiple life cycles, something you might completely miss if you were only looking at the main macro grid.
Just to give you an idea of the astonishing granularity of the system, check out these specific vargas, or subdivisions. The Chaturvimsamsa literally divides a single sign into 24 parts just to calculate academic achievements. The Shashtiamsa slices a sign into 60 parts, and the rule here is incredibly strict. If a planet lands in a malefic Shashtiamsa, the house it owns suffers a mathematical defect, no matter how good it looks on the surface. Then you have the Trimsamsa, a 30-part division solely dedicated to calculating evils and misfortunes. Every single facet of life has its own dedicated, mathematically sliced micro-chart.
Moving right along to Section 4, the web of aspects, or drishti.
Now, what's really interesting here is that we can't just look at planets in isolation. They form this incredibly dynamic network, casting these geometric sightlines called drishti. This is Lord Brahma's aspectual diagram, which maps the 8 directions.
By plotting the zodiac signs into these directional quadrants, north, south, east, west, and the corners, astrologers could quickly visualize the intersecting lines of planetary sight. It makes the whole thing not just a math problem, but a deeply spatial and geographic map of the sky.
And the sightlines themselves follow rigorous structural rules. The general baseline is that every planet projects its full power exactly 180 degrees across the board, scanning the 7th house from wherever it currently sits. But the heavyweights? They have special, asymmetrical sightlines. Saturn throws its gaze specifically to the 3rd and 10th houses. Jupiter projects a trinal aspect, scanning the 5th and 9th houses. Mars scans the 4th and 8th. What you end up with is this incredibly complex, overlapping web of energetic influence.
This brings us to Section 5, Calculating Aspectual Strength. Okay, fair warning, the math is about to get intense. Knowing where a planet looks is only step 1. We actually have to determine exactly how strong that look is. Let's walk through this Chapter 26 evaluation formula step by step, like a math class. First, you take the exact longitude of the planet being looked at and deduct it from the planet doing the looking. Step 2, check your result. If that sum is over 6 signs, meaning 180 degrees, you must deduct that sum from a fixed variable of 10 signs, which is 300 degrees. Step 3, convert that new sum entirely into degrees. Finally, divide by 2. The number you're left with is the Drishti Kona, the precise quantitative value of that aspectual angle. It is genuinely breathtaking how procedural and algorithmic this is.
And finally, Section 6, Predicting Life Outcomes. So what is the final outcome of all this? By combining these complex grids, degree coordinates, divisional charts, and aspectual angles, the ancient texts generate highly specific life outcomes. Chapters 19 and 22 beautifully contrast these structural combinations for extreme success versus extreme misfortune. To achieve fame, the algorithm requires multiple green lights. The moon must be in the 10th house, the 10th lord has to sit in a trine, and the ascendant lord must be angular. Conversely, a short lifespan, and they specifically calculate this as 20 to 32 years, occurs when the ascendant lord's variable is weak, but the 8th lord is powerfully angular. And if the 10th lord is in its fall while the 8th lord sits in the 10th with a malefic, the text predicts instant, crushing obstructions.
And this leads us to the profound depths of Chapter 17, the Bahugra Yogatyai. This is the chapter completely dedicated to multiplanetary conjunctions. Now, when 4, 5, or even 6 planets form a Mahasangam or Great Union, the physiological and karmic outputs described are intense. The system leverages those 6th and 8th house afflictions in a very specific way. For instance, the shlokas lay out that if the ascendant lord sits in a sign of Mars and is mathematically aspected by Mercury, the geometry yields severe physical ailments, specifically facial diseases. It is literally translating celestial multi-planet geometry directly into human biology.
Now, while Chapter 17 handles those massive, heavy conjunctions, the exact same rigid astronomical logic applies to singular life events, like we see in Chapter 11. Say you wanted to arrive at the specific output of having exactly 12 siblings, or coborns. 3 strict mathematical requirements have to align simultaneously. The 3rd lord must be in angle, Mars must be exalted in a trine, and Mars has to be physically conjunct Jupiter. If the celestial coordinates match the formula, the outcome is set in stone.
So, to summarize our deep dive into Chapter 17's Bahugraha Yogatyai, it really serves as a masterclass in this astrological architecture. By pinpointing physical vulnerabilities and calculating the effects of massive planetary conjunctions, it demonstrates exactly how foundational rules dictate real-world outcomes. The mathematics behind these Mahasangams prove the staggering complexity of the system, and honestly, it just sets the stage, because subsequent chapters dive even deeper into planetary dashas, advanced lifespan calculations, and remedies. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative final thought to ponder. When you look at the sheer granularity of all this, the complex division of degrees, the rigorous formulas, the geometric precision, is this a literal blueprint of divine destiny? Or is it simply the world's most intricate, ancient mathematical algorithm, meticulously designed by human minds trying to code the chaos of the universe? It's a fascinating question, and one that absolutely leaves you hungry to keep exploring this incredible text. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.